Welcome back. Today, we're cracking the code on one of the biggest challenges in AI art. You know how you get an image, but not the image you actually had in your head? Well, we are talking about deliberate, repeatable control over the style in Midjourney. Let's dive in.
So you're scrolling through, you see these absolutely incredible AI images, and you're just thinking, how in the world did they do that? It often feels like a total guessing game, right? Well, what if I told you it's not a guess? There's actually a system, a set of rules and tools the pros use to get exactly what they want. And that's what we're breaking down right now.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. You type in something simple, right? Like a majestic fox, and you get a fox. I mean, it's a perfectly fine fox, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of generic. It has that default AI art vibe, the one we've all seen a million times. But now, look at this. Same exact subject, a majestic fox, but the prompt is like a chef's recipe, full of specific keywords and commands. And the result isn't just a picture anymore. It's a work of art. It's got a mood, a texture, a whole vibe. That's the huge difference between just hoping for something cool and actually engineering it. And that's exactly what we're going to learn how to do.
All right, so our first level of control, it's not about all those fancy art terms just yet. Think of it more like setting the ground rules. We're telling the AI how it should think before we even tell it what to think about.
And right at the beginning, you have to make a choice, a really important one. Do you want Midjourney to be your creative partner? You know, adding its own artistic flair and beautiful lighting? Or do you need it to be a super literal tool that just does exactly what you tell it, no questions asked? This is like the first big fork in the road for any prompt.
The command for this is super simple. -stylize, or you can just use -s for short. The best way to think about it is like a dial for artistic flair. Turn it down to 0, and the AI is going to be super literal. But if you crank it all the way up to 1,000, it goes into full-on artist mode. It's going to prioritize making a beautiful image, even if it means ignoring some of your words. And right in the middle, the default is 100.
And this really shows you the trade-off, right? If you use a low stylized value, you get amazing accuracy to your prompt. This is perfect for when you have really specific or weird ideas. But if you crank it up high, yeah, you'll often get something that's way more visually stunning, but the AI might just throw out some of your keywords because it thinks it has a better idea. It's a classic trade-off.
And that's really the key thing to remember. High stylization is awesome, but you're kind of handing over the steering wheel a bit. The AI's own taste, its built-in idea of what a good picture is, can sometimes just steamroll what you actually wanted. So it's always this dance between your vision and the AI's. Okay, so here's your first real pro tip. Get this. When you absolutely positively need the AI to follow your instructions to the letter, like for a super specific vector design or a technical drawing, you combine a low -stylize value with the command -style raw. Together, this combo is basically you yelling at Midjourney, hey, turn off all your fancy beautification stuff and just listen to me. All right, let's level up. We've set the ground rules. Now it's time to actually speak the AI's language. And its language is, well, all of art history, film, and design. And using the right keywords, it's literally like having a book of cheat codes for style.
This is what's so amazing. It's just so efficient. You say a name like Salvador Dali or Ansel Adams, and that's it. It's a huge shortcut. You're not just saying a name, you're tapping into a whole library of rules about composition, color, mood, everything the AI has learned about that artist's work.
And it's not just artists. Keywords can come straight from the movies. Take a term like tech noir. Just those two words, they tell the AI everything. It means high contrast lights, a dark and moody vibe, and sci-fi elements. Boom! It's a whole world packed into two simple words.
And we can get even more technical. You can actually name specific 3D rendering engines to get really precise control over texture and light. So, for example, if you want something with those super polished, perfect reflections on glass or wet streets, you'd say Octane Render. But if you're building, say, a huge complex sci-fi city with tons of sharp detail and dramatic lighting, then Unreal Engine 5 is your go-to. It's all about choosing the right tool for the job.
Okay, time for level 3. This is where things get really professional. We're moving beyond one-off images and talking about creating a consistent look and feel across a whole project. And the secret to that is a powerful tool called style reference, or sref for short.
So what is sref? Honestly, it's a total game changer. Imagine this. Instead of typing out a whole bunch of style keywords every single time, you can just point to another image and say, I want that style. You can use a special code or even just an image URL. The AI then basically copies the style, the colors, the textures, the whole vibe, and pastes it onto your new subject. It's incredible.
And using it is super easy. You can use a number code for a style you already know and love, or you can just grab the URL of basically any image on the internet and use its style. Or, and this is my favorite for finding new stuff, you can just type -sref random and let Midjourney surprise you with a style from its massive library. If you like it, you can just save that code and use it forever. And this right here is the magic of sref, reproducibility. Think about it. Let's say you're making a graphic novel. You need every single panel to look like it's from the same universe, right? With sref, you can lock in that aesthetic and then apply that exact same style to a character, a vehicle, a landscape, anything. This is the absolute key to getting that professional, consistent look.
And of course, they give you a dial for this too. It's called style weight, or -SW. This lets you control exactly how strong that style reference is. So a low weight will just add a little hint of the style, but a high weight will force the AI to really copy that reference's look, even if it has to ignore some of the words in your prompt. It's like a tug of war between your prompt and the style reference, and -SW is how you decide who wins. Okay, so we've spent all this time talking about how to add style. But what about getting rid of stuff you don't want? This is the final layer of control, the real polish. It's about using some advanced tricks to remove things and, maybe even more importantly, to fight against the AI's own built-in habits. So, the simple way is the -no command. You type -no plants and poof, the plants are gone. Easy. But the pro move is to use something with a lot more finesse, negative prompt weighting. By using a double colon and a negative number like plants, -0.5, you can do the same thing. But now you have a dial. You can turn that negative number up or down to tell the AI how much you want it to avoid that concept.
And here's where it gets really clever. You can use this to fight the AI's natural instincts. See, Midjourney is programmed to make things look awesome, polished, beautiful, super detailed. So if you just ask for a rough sketch, it's probably still going to look too clean. To get a real rough sketch, you have to wrestle with it a bit. You tell it you want rough sketch with a positive weight, and then you tell it you don't want hyper-detailed with a strong negative weight. You're basically forcing it to go against its own nature.
So let's put this all together into the expert workflow. It's all about layers. You start with your main subject. Then you add your primary style, like vector art. Then you sprinkle in modifiers, like tech noir, and technical stuff, like Octane Render. Then you lock in that whole look with a style reference. And only at the very end do you add your final settings for aspect ratio, things you want to exclude, and your overall stylized value. See? It's a system, not just random guessing. And this really is the biggest mental shift you have to make. Beginners just keep changing the descriptive words, hoping for magic. But the experts, they find a style they love, they lock it in with sref, and then they focus on tuning the numbers, the relationship between that style reference, the style weight, and that raw style command. It's like they've stopped just changing the color of the car and have actually popped the hood to start tuning the engine.
So there you have it. You now have the complete toolkit. You can achieve precise, repeatable control over any style. The guessing game is officially over. So the only question left is, now that you have the power to engineer literally any aesthetic you can dream up, what are you going to create?